good people, and welcome to another episode of This Is Dope. It's your man Ahmad here to share with you some of the dope experiences and things that I've encountered this week. We have some dope music to talk about, a pretty dope place that I actually had a chance to go to this past week, and a pretty dope tech story / take that I have for you guys this week. So let's go ahead and dive right in. First, music. Over the past few weeks, some pretty dope projects have been released. There were a couple of things that were released a few weeks ago that actually slipped through the cracks and didn't have a chance to listen to. Didn't realize how dope they were that I'm going to discuss, as well as a couple of projects that were released this past Friday that are actually pretty dope. Let's go ahead and just get right to it. I guess this past Friday, Chance the Rapper. I'm sure many of you have heard of Chance the Rapper. Hopefully you have. If you haven't, you can look him up. I'm not going to go into a big, long rant about Chance, but he's a great MC, makes great music. He released his quote-unquote debut album this past Friday. He's had a lot of other projects before. He said none of those were his official album. This apparently is. It's called The Big Day. It's a great project. I mean, it's about, I think, 17 or 18 songs long. It came out this past Friday. Was really surprised that it came out. Most of the music is released on the streaming platforms at midnight. This, however, didn't pop up until like 2 p.m. So, and there wasn't any inclination that I had seen or heard that he was dropping it this past Friday, rather. Gave it a listen, was really, really happy with the project. There's a lot of surprise features on there. He doesn't have them listed, so you'll have to listen to the actual song. And if there's a feature, you'll be able to tell who it is. There's one feature with Meg Thee Stallion on there that was pretty dope. It was pretty shocking. I mean, if you all are familiar with Meg and her work, very talented MC, very, very talented. Content is a little different than what Chance normally puts out there. But I think that's what made it so dope. It was a shock, but it went well together. Overall, great project. Definitely worth checking out. Another project that came out this past Friday, actually, was Murs and Ninth Wonder released a project called Brighter Daze. They've done work before, collabed on projects before. Most people are familiar with who Murs is and Ninth Wonder is, but for those of you who are not, Murs is an Oakland MC. I believe he's from Oakland, but he's definitely a California-based MC. Really dope dude, really dope MC. Great lyrical skills. I mean, has made some really good music. Ninth Wonder is Ninth Wonder. I mean, he's Little Brother, original member of Little Brother. Has produced tracks for Jay-Z. He's one of the driving forces behind Rhapsody. He's made a lot of dope beats for a lot of great artists. If you're not familiar with who he is, you've been missing out. But anyway, this project, Brighter Daze, I mean, it was really, really a hot project, to be honest with you. I mean, in typical Merce fashion, great lyrics, really witty. Ninth had great beats, so definitely worth a listen. Really worth the time to go check out. Another project that was released actually a few weeks ago was a project from Dreamville. For those of you who are not familiar with who Dreamville is, that is J.Cole's record label, and I guess Dreamville is the artist collective that are on that record label. And so they came out with a compilation style CD. Artists like Boz, J.I.D., Ari Lennox, obviously J.Cole, Earth Gang, as well as guests like T.I. was on there, Dreezy's on there. It's just an overall dope project. I am shocked I didn't listen to it earlier. I listened to it last week in its entirety. Yeah, it was really, really dope. Another project that actually came out this past Friday, BJ the Chicago Kid, project called 1123. BJ the Chicago Kid makes great music. He's a very talented artist, great singer. Has a great voice. Is well worth the listen. And lastly, I normally don't do singles, but this single to me was just hot. And I've been a big fan of this person for a while, so I was glad they're coming out with new music. And hopefully it's this type of lane he stays in. But it's Wale. He released a single called On Chill. It takes a Tony sample and has him really just kind of rapping over it, talking to this girl. He's, telling her, how much he means to him, the whole thing. He just wants to chill, yada, yada, yada. Great song, great beat, real cool, real mellow, great lyrics. And that really about does it for the music. I'm going to leave the links below, and the description below, rather, so you guys hopefully get a chance to go check it out on Tidal or iTunes. So, next, on to where we went to this past week. This is our dope place of the week, if you haven't. This is a place called Candytopia. My son had his birthday this earlier in the month, but we've been kind of stretching it out because we were on vacation during his birthday and we didn't really get to have a party and so forth and so on, right? So this was something that was one of his birthday activities. So friends and family of ours came out. A couple of his friends came out and went to this place called Candytopia. In Atlanta, it's located near Phipps Plaza, near the Lenox Mall area. I'd never been. My wife found the place. It was great. It was great. What Candytopia is, it's like a museum. It's a museum of candy-related art, right? So you have candy sculptures, candy paint. It's great. They have people that as soon as you walk in, you get into the actual venue. They have people that are going to tell you, the rules ins and outs. You have great candy sculptures immediately. Then you go to the next room. There's someone who tells you about Candytopia itself. There's an artist, I guess there's one artist that makes the majority of the sculptures there. I forget her name, but very talented. I mean, they had like a candy, you see those suits of armor, those knight suits of armor that are standing up. They had one made out of candy. In that room, they had all these clocks that were hanging down, and the face was facing the floor. So you looked up, you could see the face of the clock. They were giant. Well, one of them was made of chocolate, which was awesome. No, we didn't get a chance to eat the clock chocolate, but she had this lever, and it lowers the clock, and there's candy on top of the clock. I thought that was pretty cool. And so, you keep moving room to room, and there's, things that the kids can play on and run around, and they have little candy bins in each room. So they had one room that was kind of like houses made of candy and slides. And the slides weren't made of candy, they were plastic, but it was a mix of candy and actual regular material, which I thought was cool. None of the candy is lickable. That the building material that the stuff is made out of, they tell you that in the kind of pre-entrance briefing, but it is still made of candy. There's a hall of mirrors there. There's this room with these big balls that the kids can push around. Adults could do it too. It was pretty fun. They had this kind of aquatic themed room where they had a candy shark and a candy diving suit, which was nuts. And really, at the end, they had this marshmallow pit. Nope, not real marshmallows, but the little white foam things that looked like marshmallows, which was pretty cool. The kids jumped in, the wife got in with them. They're diving around in the sea of marshmallows, and they're taking pictures. And throughout various points in, your tour, there are places to take pictures, and they're kind of like augmented reality pictures. So you'll take a picture against a certain backdrop, and it'll give you when you look at the picture, it makes it look like you're sliding down a candy chute or doing something else. It's pretty cool. And then, of course, at the end, you have the ability to buy candy, right? And so did that. The kids had candy throughout. They loved it. I loved it. All the adults there loved it. And It was just a great experience. You don't have to have your kids with you to go. There were a lot of people there who were adults who were just there. So it definitely was a really good time. I know they have one here in Atlanta. I'm not sure if it's a national chain. Hopefully it is, and people in other places can experience it. But Candytopia, dopeness. All right, so now to the tech portion of today's video. So just a little background about myself. I am in cloud security. I work in cloud security for an organization. I've been an InfoSec professional for a while. I'm not going to age myself, but it's been a while. Now, with my iPad Pro and iPad OS 13, we are now able to I am now able to use my iPad for about 90 to 95% of the things I need done. And this is what this video is about. I'm sure you see in the background, I have a laptop and my iPad. A laptop, that's my company's laptop. There's still 10% of the things I need to get done from a technical perspective. I say 5 to 10 I still need to do on that because of, various things like, apps that are proprietary to the organization I work for. Also just lockdown type things that, things that are restricted access to only, company owned devices. But other than that, I installed an MDM profile. My iPad's being managed has an MDM profile on it, so it's partially managed by the organization I work for, which I can delete the profile anytime and take full control over it. But it's allowed me to, access some things and connect to the VPN and so forth and so on. But that's enough rambling. Let's go ahead and get into the video, show you guys how I work. And this is really a work-related video, how I work off of my iPad. So this is my 12.9-inch iPad Pro. This is my primary work machine, in addition to my primary personal machine. So just a little background on what I do professionally. I am in a cloud security organization for a particular company that I will not name, but my productivity needs really stretch far beyond just creating emails and sending out spreadsheets. So what I want to do here is really show you guys how I work, some of the things I use for work, and why I utilize this iPad for 90 to 95% of the things I do in the position within the cloud security organization that I'm in. So let's see, let's go here. Here we go. So what I generally do when I start off the day is I will check the weather, like most people, right? So I use dark sky. It's going to tell me the temperature, also, whether it's going to rain or not today. Next, I'll go ahead and check my Google Calendar. The organization that I work for, we use G Suite, so you'll notice that throughout this video, there's a lot of G Suite apps. So I'll use Google Calendar to go ahead and check to see what I have going on today as far as from a meeting standpoint. Then we also use Google Meet. So whatever I have going on that day, I will obviously be able to join from this widget if a meeting is up next, or if I so happen to, be in my widgets when it's time for me to join a meeting. I also use the Apple Reminders app. I've used Things 3 and OmniFocus, both great apps. The appeal of Reminders for me was that it's an Apple app. It's included in iPad OS. And as with most things Apple, it works better with other Apple applications than do third-party applications. So the Apple ecosystem has really sold me on this. I haven't really 100% bought in yet. I still have Things 3 on here just in case I need to fall back to it. But so far, so good. I've been primarily using my Reminders app. The other thing that I've been using is the Notes app. Same thing. I've used I've used Notability and GoodNotes 5, both great apps. The appeal for Notes was the interoperability with the rest of the iPad OS apps that come stock, the Apple apps. They just play better together. And I'll dig a little deeper into notes a little bit later on. So I check the widgets, see what I have going on, and then what I also have set up at 8 o'clock every morning that's a work day, I should say, I have a shortcut set up. And what this shortcut will do is at 8 a.m., it will launch the 4 essential apps to get my day started off with, which are Google Hangouts, Google Chat, Gmail, and Google Calendar. As I stated earlier, my organization uses G Suite, so we communicate and use these apps heavily. So what happens is, once 8 o'clock happens, no, it doesn't open the apps by themselves, right? That would be nice, but it doesn't have that functionality. What it will do, however, is go ahead and send you a notification. You open the notification, you click run, and then all 4 apps, or however many apps you have set up, will open, which is great. I do wish it opened up all the way without any interaction for me, but just simply having to click run is not that big a deal. Another thing that I use, obviously, is the Notes app, as I touched on earlier. And the thing that really is appealing to me about the Notes app is the new ability to have nested folders from the iPad. Before, you had to go on your Mac, do that, and then it translated over to your iPad. But now I can do that here on my iPad. That is an excellent feature. As you can see here, I'm able to go ahead and break down things like I have an AWS folder under Cloud, Azure, Cloud Security, Google Cloud, so forth and so on. The other great feature is, within this, is the new dock. As you can see here, I have mine minimized here in the corner, but you can go ahead and click it, it expands, and I'm running dark mode, obviously. So, you can switch back and forth between your different tools. I have the double tap functionality on my Apple Pencil to switch back and forth between the eraser and the last tool. So I can do that. So I can go ahead and, and do whatever I need to do. Then I go ahead and erase, and it comes in handy, right? I have my default paper settings to a grid. There's the ability to manipulate that as well. As I stated earlier, Notability and GoodNotes 5, great apps, great apps just for what I do and how I use things. Apple Notes is the best choice for me. Let's see. The other thing that I use, I stated before, is reminders. Reminders is a major part of what I do. It takes some getting used to. You have to do subtasks and things like that in order to really create the nested folders functionality that you would have in like Things or something like that. It's a little weird getting used to. I'm still seeing if it's something that I can live with. That's why I have not deleted Things 3 from my iPad yet. So jury's still out on that one. I also use Pages, Keynote, Numbers. The iWork suite, while not as widely used, they definitely offer some of the more interesting tools and templates for the documents and things you create and presentations and spreadsheets you create. So because of that, I use them, and then I'll export them to Word, which is obviously the most prominent Office product. So the ability to be able to export to Word helps out a lot. Just speaking of what is on my desktop that I use, generally, I'm teaching myself and learning, scripting more and more, Python in particular. So Pythonista, great app for that. Also, as I stated earlier, I am in cloud security. So these 3 apps here are dealing with major cloud providers. This is Google Cloud's app, the Google Console app, AWS, their console app, Microsoft Azure, their console app. So I'm not going to open them because they have I've logged in to them with credentials to actually access my organization's infrastructure. And obviously I'm not going to show that here on video. However, from a functionality standpoint, and obviously just a GUI standpoint, I would say definitely Google Clouds is far ahead of the other two, with Azure being second, and AWS is third. That's pretty shocking. You would think Amazon would pour more money into their GUI, but they don't. But be honest with you, that's not really that big of a hindrance. Most of the administration that I do is from a web browser. Some CLI stuff, but I'll get on that later. But mostly from a web browser. And I use primarily Safari and Google Chrome. And with Safari now having the desktop class browsing, it's just like connecting to it on my Mac. So the experience is there. The experience is great. So that's where I primarily do it from. I only really get into these apps when I just need to look at something really quick or do something very, very quick and light. Another thing that I use is Agenda. Agenda is another note-taking app. I do Apple Notes for about 90 to 95% of the things I do. Agenda is what I use the rest of the time. Great-looking app. Great functionality. It's just an awesome note-taking app. I was using it before iPadOS came out, so I have a lot of notes in here and really just like the look and feel of it. So another thing that you probably will notice is that on my dock down here, I have 4 folders. I keep them down here because it makes it easier to multitask with the objects in this folder. So it's kind of like a cheat. You can only have a certain number of icons really listed in this taskbar, but if you put folders down here, you can have as many apps in a folder as you can get, right? So it's a cheat. So I have an Apple folder for all of my Apple apps that I use. I have a Google folder for all the G Suite stuff that I use. I have Gmail, Hangouts, chat, calendar, the Google Office stuff, all of that stuff. I actually have a productivity folder that's for everything that doesn't fall in an Apple and Google folder that's productivity related. So, I have Microsoft Office, I have Dropbox Paper I use, some video conferencing apps, project management app. This Lucidchart, I use this a lot. This is the Visio alternative. As we all know, there's not a Visio app for iPad. There's a Visio viewer, but you can't create any Visio diagrams or anything like that. So being in cloud security, a lot of times I have to get in a situation where I have to, create process flows, do diagrams, create architecture, cloud architecture diagrams. So this is where Lucidchart will come in, create my process flows, create my diagrams, have the ability to read Visio documents and export to Visio with the paid version. There's a free version, but there's a lot less functionality with the free version. Another app I use this Prompt CLI app for all my command line people out there. You can SSH to whoever and connect, and it'll drop you into whatever shell you have configured. Great app. I haven't tried to use it with Windows or anything like that. For all the people that are looking for a PowerShell app, I have not come across one. That would be great to be able to, use PowerShell to connect to some of these things I do in Azure, which is a heavy PowerShell environment. But I have not come across anything like that yet. If someone comes across a PowerShell app, please leave a link in the description below, in the comments below. It'd be greatly appreciated. And this last folder here is just social media, which I'm not going to get into. It's not really productivity related, but it's something I'm on a lot. I have folders on the back half here with a lot of different apps. This is going to have all the apps that I use to learn how to code. So outside of, coding, there's also Brilliant. Brilliant is a great app. It's an app that's going to, give you random facts, make you, kind of a brain teaser, something to stimulate your mind. I use that quite often as well. Over here, I have my AR folder, all my AR apps, augmented reality apps. I have my creative folder, as I call it, with all my music and camera and video apps. Here, I have this is my life folder. It's all the things I do in life. And all these apps are in here. I use emojis instead of just, words for labels. I things a little more fun. Then I have my gaming app here. So that is really it from an app perspective. Another thing I want to show you is something I use quite often. It's a KNX hub, sure, or USB-C hub. Sure, plenty of you have seen this in advertisements, if not in real life. So the great thing about this is, or one of the great things, is that there is this magnetic insert. So half the time I use my iPad without the keyboard, right? So it's pretty thin. So when I do that, I put the magnetic insert in there. It slips over this edge. It's great. But when I am using it with the keyboard or a case, take this out, slip it in, still works. And how you hook it in, is you take this plug, this in here, voila. There you go. And the ports you're going to have are, I'm sure, ports everybody's seen before. You have your SD slot right here, micro SD. You have your USB-C, headphone jack, HDMI, and USB-A. I wish it had another USB-C port, but maybe that'll be in the next version. Well, hopefully everyone found that helpful. Just kind of going to give you guys a glimpse at how I use my iPad for my everyday productivity needs. As I stated earlier, I'm not just an email and spreadsheet guy. I do a number of other things, from design to process flows to presentations to research to really connecting to cloud consoles. There's a myriad of things that I do in my day-to-day for the job I have for my organization, the organization I work for. So hopefully you guys, this will help you realize that you can use the iPad Pro as your primary productivity machine. I know a lot of people may have been on the fence, and really the release of iPadOS has probably kind of sparked that question in people, like, hey, can I use this to replace my laptop or be my primary productivity machine? Yes, it can be your primary productivity machine. No, it's not a laptop replacement. Let's just kind of squash that right now. What the iPad Pro is, in my opinion, is a different computing device that if you approach it that way, your workflow can be a lot more efficient. You can be a lot more productive. You can be a lot, I would say, considerably more proactive and nimble in what it is that you do using the iPad Pro. If you understand what it is, and don't try to use it like a laptop. Try to realize that it's an entirely different computing platform, very capable, very, very powerful, very, very powerful platform. And that's what I've realized, and it modified my workflow accordingly. And I work better on it than my laptop. I get a lot more done on it than my laptop. There are obviously still some things I need to do on my laptop, such as VMs and things like that. But that's a software limitation, right? No one's created a VM related solution for an iPad. I'm not sure if it's possible, to be honest with you. But yeah, that really is my impressions, my workflow in a nutshell. Obviously, it's my primary personal machine, so I don't really need to stress how easy and how fun it is to use in that regard. So once again, hopefully everyone found this video helpful, hopefully it help give you some insight into how you can use the device, and really just help you make a decision if you're on the fence. If you liked the video, which I hope you did, please go ahead and mash that like button down below. It helps the mystical, magical Google algorithm to really move my videos up the rankings and kind of get them out there for more people to see them. If you like the videos that I put up, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Would definitely love to have any new subscribers that come my way, to be honest with you. If you want to be notified when I upload a new video, click that notification bell. I'm going to try to go ahead and put up one more video before I go to DEF CON next week. And then obviously I'm going to be putting up a video or videos about my experience at DEF CON. But I get really excited about that stuff. But that's a whole entire video or videos that I'll be posting about that. With that, that ends our time today. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you got some value out of this. Check out the links below and enjoy the rest of your evening and your week. I'm out.